Today on Teuty's track analysis, we have the track of the day for February 8th, Lanturne by Mephisto. Lanturne is a tech track and it features the surfaces road and sausage, and also has a special block of slow motion in front of the safe finish. With a safe finish, there must be a risky, and this risky finish needs a minimum of 240 speed to reach. Opting for the safe finish with 240 speed will cost you roughly 0.6 of a second. As for the difficulty of the track, I found it much harder than an average track of the day, and I rated a 7.5 out of 10. I completed Lanturne with a time of 46.615. This is well ahead of the gold medal, but still over 1 second behind the author medal time of 45.548. Overall, I thought Lanturne was a decent track, and on the plus minus rating scale, I would give it a plus rating. For today's analysis and comparison, I'm using the current world record ghost driven by Pole. They had a 44.808, and this is 1.807 ahead of my personal best. So a fairly large gap in today's time here, almost 2 seconds. Not all that surprising though, tech is one of my weaker styles. Usually on tech, I overcommit on drifts, and that'll be another common theme today as well, including this first one right here. Right when you land across that little jump, you want to brake immediately, start this drift, start sliding a little bit, but to here I'll just hold it much too long, I'll go way too wide around the corner, and of course this will put me pretty far behind the world record immediately. For this drift here, you want to set up pretty wide. Obviously here the world record was a tad bit wider than me, so that could be a little bit better on my part, but overall we started it at about the same time. I'll hold it for about the same time, and we'll see on the exit that we're on a very similar pace. That moves us into this jump and this drift right here. We'll see a huge difference despite how close we land to each other. We're basically in the exact same spot here, but moving up a little bit, we'll see a huge difference in where we end up. This is because right when I landed, I started to hold drift, and I held drift to get around the entirety of this corner, and when the world record landed, they just let the car slide by itself, did one very small brake tap mid-turn, and just let the car go around the corner. This is easier said than done though, because the exit line is very narrow. Up into this drift here, again, we started about the same time. I started it much wider though, and again, over committed to the drift here, and again, on the exit, very, very wide. After this, you have the sideways checkpoint. You just need to commit to this turn and trust you'll make it. And for this drift here, you want to start it very early. We'll see us both start it again at the exact same time, really. You want to start it before you even get to this corner here. 100% commit to the drift and a hard right turn. This brings us into another very difficult drift. Once you get the hop, you want to again drift very, very hard, commit 100% to the drift and a very hard left turn here. Also, ideally, you want to be a little bit wider than I was here. It will just help you get around the corner a little bit better. And moving up a little bit, we'll see that we both take the inside route around the poles. I feel like mostly mappers use the outside of the poles for a better route, but in this case, the inside was the better route. That moves us on into this next jump and drift here, which I start the drift way too far inside. I'll have to turn extremely hard to the right to get around the corner. Just overall, not a great line from me here. This basically leads us into the final bit of the track for this jump here and uphill. We'll see that I will brake here to drift around this corner. However, the world record does not use the brake to drift this corner. They will use the slide out from the landing to get around the corner. I kind of recommend drifting this. If you do not get a great line and like a perfect line, you will not be able to either make this uphill, you will bonk something on the uphill, or you won't be able to get around this corner here. As you see, the world record barely sneaks by this corner. And we'll move up a little bit more here for the risky and non-risky finish. Right at the edge of this ramp, you need a bare minimum of 240 speed. It is a very hard cutoff at that speed. And again, if you want to take the safe finish with this speed, it will cost you roughly 0.6 of a second. And then again, moving up a tiny bit more, just want to show that you do need to get up on this platform to reach the risky finish. You can't jump straight to the risky finish. So final thoughts for today's track. An extremely difficult track, extremely tight lines throughout it, as well as, some blind corners as well, which I didn't really care for. I absolutely hated the track in today's discovery video, mainly due to the blind corners, but the difficulty also played a large factor in that. Again, you just needed such good lines throughout the entire thing in order to have like really any semblance of putting a run together. There's so many spots where you can easily bonk if your drift was just slightly off. It was just rather frustrating. And a pretty stark difference from yesterday's track, which had a lot of different lines you could take and get a run basically no matter how you drove it. It definitely feels like the track was probably a little bit too difficult for the cup of the day as well. 15 minutes was probably not enough time for the majority of people to really learn how to drive this track. That'll do it for today's analysis though. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like the video and subscribe. Check the description for links to my Twitch and Discord if you're interested in those. And be sure to check out all the other track analysis videos already out on the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next one.